Do you have the sinking feeling like something needs to change in your church for it to make the impact that God wants it to make, but you're just not sure what needs to change? In this video, I'm going to show you a chart that every pastor needs to be able to see. This chart will show you what you need to focus on either to get momentum or to keep that momentum as you prayerfully serve the Lord. And be sure to stick around to the end because I'm going to show you the one thing that is common among all plateaued or declining churches and the one thing that is common to all churches that are growing in attendance and in impact. Before we get to the chart, real quick, I just want to show you really what the two paths are for churches. 85% of churches, they are experiencing not many first-time guests. They're not reaching a whole lot of new people. And even if they do, they're not seeing a lot of those first-time guests come back. A lot of churches think that they're friendly, but instead they're just friendly to the insiders and they're not welcoming to the outsiders. They might think they are, but the experience of a first-time guest, if they just never come back, then that tells you something. That maybe your church is full of holy huddles and not really welcoming the outsiders in. 85% of churches, not many first-time guests, even less second-time guests. A lot of churches are doing a lot of stuff, but they're not making a lot of progress. A lot of progress in terms of making disciples, a lot of progress in terms of making leaders, a lot of progress in seeing people surrender to Jesus. When was the last time you saw baptisms in your church? How many people have surrendered to Jesus in your church in the last year? 85% of churches, it would be countable on 1 to 2 hands. That's it. And that's not throwing shade. It's just what is. And 85% of churches, they struggle to find leaders, struggle to find people to lead the ministries they're trying to lead and trying to do to impact their community. And as a result, 85% of churches are either plateaued or declining in attendance. But 15% of churches have an invite culture. They have excellent hospitality. And I will say this, that there is even fewer churches, but these are the ones making an extreme impact, is they don't even just have an invite culture, but they have a culture of discipleship where their people have not just seen their livelihood or like their purpose as being a disciple of Jesus, but they're a disciple maker. They're a disciple who makes disciples, really, which is really what a disciple is, right? So they have invite culture. They have excellent hospitality. They expect first-time guests. They know to expect them. They're welcoming to them. They design a lot of things in the service to welcome them, to get them to plug in. They're very intentional about it. They have a 5-year strategic vision where they are aligned. They have their team, their church members. They are aligned toward a goal as a congregation. And that has all kinds of things that are connected to it, but they have alignment. They have clarity and alignment. And 15% of churches, they have a discipleship pathway to make disciples and leaders. They don't wait for disciples and leaders to show up. They make them. They have a discipleship engine. And as a result, they have healthy and growing in attendance and impact. Both churches pray. Both churches focus on the Lord. But there are some tactical things, some very practical things that really you can't ignore as a pastor. And so I want to show you this chart because it's going to show you the reality of where your church is, and that knowledge, that clarity that this chart's going to give you is also going to show you what needs to be your focus in the next quarter and the next year to see your church turn around. So here it is. Dr. George Bullard put this together. It's called The Life Cycle and Stages of Congregational Development. Maybe you've seen charts like this before, but this one really takes it to an extra nerd level. So I would love to dig in and kind of walk you through this. Just for clarity's sake, though, I just showed you 85% of churches versus 15%. 15% of churches are on this side of the chart. The 15% of churches that are growing in attendance and impact, they're seeing people come to know Jesus at a high rate. That's what this is. Lots of discipleship happening. 85% of churches, at least in America, are on this side of the chart. They are plateaued or they are in decline. And if you find your church, to be on this side of the chart, then just make sure you walk with me through this, because I believe you're going to get some clarity that you really need to know not only where you are, but what you need to focus on in this next season of ministry. So as we start over here, birth. So this is a church plant, right? Like this is starting a new thing. You see these letters that go in parentheses behind the the title of the stage. So VRPM, V is for vision, leadership, mission, purpose, core values. Those things that are the soil and the seed of the church, right? If the church and its ministry bears fruit and it becomes a tree and bears fruit, this is the soil and the seed. This is really the lifeblood of the church. R is for relationships, experiences. Discipleship is where people start to get involved. They start to organically connect to each other, and they start to see you start to see mentoring. You start to see people praying for each other, and this is where you start to see discipleship happening. Discipleship is something that is not dependent on a program. Discipleship can happen in and through programs, and it can also happen outside of those things. So people are growing in relationship, they're being vulnerable, they're getting to know each other on a real level, they're fellowshipping together, they're getting to know each other. So R is for relationships, experiences, discipleship. P is for programs, events, ministries, services, activities. These are the official things that your church puts in place throughout the year. These are the events. These are the ministries that you start. These are the things that are organized under the banner of your church. The things that are kind of like there, these are the things that you're putting together. And then M is a lot of staff-oriented and leadership structure stuff. So management, accountability, systems, and then resources. So finances, things like that. These are the things that are often behind the scenes that aren't always prevalent from stage, but these are the things that allow things to happen. Church systems, accountability. So you have structures in your leadership to where there's expectations. There's clear guidelines and clear roles and responsibilities. And then there's an expectation that we're going to actually live those out. And we're going to put resources toward the ministry. We're going to have systems that keep the church healthy. And you got management, making sure that volunteers, difference makers, servants, the people who serve in your church are actually showing up when they're supposed to. You have a scheduling software, you like all those different things. So VRPM. So what you'll notice at the bottom left is that at a church plant level, a new gathering, a new congregation, all we got is vision, baby. We don't have any people. We don't have any programs and ministries. We don't have any money. We don't have any systems. We just got some vision. We believe in what we're supposed to do. We've got a mission. We've got a purpose. We're going to go after it. We're going to take the hill, and hopefully people are going to come. That's what happens when we plant the church. Like, this is what we see. We're focused on the future. We're focused on this mission-fueled future. As a church starts to grow, then you start getting some people, right? Some experiences, some discipleship. So you see a capital V and a capital R. On this one, there's only a capital V, lowercase on everything else. There's not much of the other stuff. You don't have much money still at infancy, but you got vision, leadership, you got relationships and discipleship. That's starting to happen. And then childhood. The church starts to grow. And the relationships start to decrease, not because you don't have enough people, but because your people are starting to experience, I don't know everybody. I don't know everybody. And so we start to put in place in childhood, there's more programs and events, ministries, like there's starting to become some organization around what is the church actually doing from a organized standpoint, official capacity. Adolescence, we're starting to hum. We've got vision. We've got people and relationships. We've got discipleship happening. We got programs and ministries, but we don't have many systems. We don't have much management. We don't have many resources. We don't have a whole lot of money, but man, we've got a lot of vision. We got some relationships that are happening. People are excited, and we're having these things that are happening. And if you find yourself here, then maybe you have a small staff. Maybe it's just you as the pastor. It's an exciting place to be, but it can also be pretty stressful. Just like adolescence is in reality, right? And as a human, adolescence is hard. We're learning a lot of stuff. Things are changing quickly. And then adulthood. We got capital V, capital R, capital P, and capital M. This is a sweet spot. If we can just stay here, we're rolling. We are rolling, baby. We are growing. We have vision, we got relationships and discipleship, we got programs and ministries and activities are happening. We've got management, we got systems and resources, accountability. We are humming. But over time, this is true of any church, no matter what their impact has been over the course of history, over the course of the last 100 years, they could have had the moments. And you could probably think, if you're a part of a church that's been in existence for 30 years, at least, you can probably see this arc. Yeah, those were the glory days. If you find yourself on this side, you can be like, yeah, I remember when we were reaching a lot of people, we were doing all this stuff. Man, those were the days. But eventually, 85% of churches have found themselves here and on this side. And I want to point out the thing that starts to go away. Again, you've got capital letters and lowercase letters. All these are capital. Over here, there's one thing that goes lowercase. And what is that? V is the vision, the leadership, the mission, the purpose, core values. This is when the leaders stop leading. This is when the vision stops becoming primary. This is when the mission starts to drift. This is when our purpose starts to kind of get a little bit, we get comfortable. We start just doing church to do church. Why? So that we can do church again. What I mean by do church is we got a Sunday service and we're going to keep doing that. Our ministries might need to change, but we haven't changed them in a while because we've lost sight of the vision. Our vision starts to become just doing the programs. We've got the people, we got the relationships, experiences, discipleship, but we start to lose sight of the purpose, of our values. And all the while, that loss of vision starts leading to the loss of other stuff. So we got no vision. Well, then our programs and ministries stop being effective. What used to be a thriving ministry in our church is no longer thriving, but it's still in existence because we haven't killed it yet. And so, all right, we got to focus on this. We got to really get this going. So as attendance dwindles, vision goes away and it stays away, and relationships stop being paramount. And then the programs and ministries and the management become really what our focus is. Oh, we still got this thing. We still got this thing that we're doing. And we got the management. We got the resources. Many churches are, they're not bringing in enough resources to sustain themselves, except for the fact that they've got plenty of resources in the bank, and that is what they're living off of. But they still have no vision. And then old age begins to creep in, and you got no vision, you got no relationships, you got no programs. All you've got is management. And there's plenty of churches that find themselves here. And ultimately, plenty of churches, thousands of churches every year, close. So what I see in this is that the one thing that is common among them all, that starts the drift, is vision. Is that leadership, the mission, the purpose, the core values, the things that provide the fire and provide the passion. And when a pastor is pastoring in a church like that, they get stuck in the Sunday to Sunday cycle, where I'm just doing the stuff so that I can do the stuff, so I can keep doing the stuff, so I can continue to spin the plates and make sure the stuff happens. If you find yourself in that space and you want to break free of the Sunday to Sunday cycle, then I want to make sure you don't miss out on this free resource I built out for you. It's your blueprint to break the Sunday to Sunday cycle and begin leading with clarity. If you can see in that chart that what is needed is vision, is leadership, is mission, is purpose, core values, then you've got to get out of the Sunday to Sunday cycle to where you are only working in the ministry. You've got to start working on the ministry. And this guide is going to give you some tangible things to do within the next 30 minutes. If you go to preachandlead.com/steps and you walk through these 3 steps, and I promise you in 30 minutes, you're going to have a pathway to start leading with more clarity and with more vision, to start seeing your church turnaround. I know that's a big promise, but you need to go get it. preachandlead.com/steps and work the steps. I promise you it's going to make a difference. If you want to go from this side to this side, it begins with leadership. I think the most common reason churches aren't healthy and making disciples is due to a lack of intentional leadership. I've said this so many times. It's one of my favorite quotes on leadership. Dr. Henry Cloud, in his book, Boundaries for Leaders, he says this: as a leader, you are responsible for two things: what you do and what you allow. What you do and what you allow. If you have a leadership team, if you have a staff, if it's just you, what you do, what you allow. So you start leading more intentionally, you start working on the ministry, things will begin to change by prayer and your diligent work. Because what's most needed in most churches is an infusion of vision, of visionary leadership, of mission-fueled future talk, of dreaming again, of getting back to our purpose, and orienting and aligning our church around our core values and focusing on the task ahead. Not just saying, well, we're going to continue doing this because it's what we've always done. That's not sufficient. God's kingdom is the most important thing in our work as pastors, to press in to what God wants to do, his ways. Because here's the thing, this happens eventually. If you look at this, any church who's here, they could go back and track their journey through this story. This happens eventually. Eventually, every church will face this, but it doesn't have to stay that way. This is possible by prayer and intentional leadership. This can be true for your church, but you've got to break the Sunday to Sunday cycle and lead with intentionality. This is the two paths for churches. What will you choose? Again, there's a bridge, and the bridge is what I help pastors do. So I have a coaching program, I have a cohort where I help pastors address being here and leading into the future so that they can be here. And I will say this too, even churches who are right now experiencing this, they've got to keep after the same things that declining churches do. Otherwise, they will stagnate and they will start to decline themselves. And they have understood this, and they are the kinds of churches that take this kind of mission on to do a strategic vision, to align their church and their team around the mission-fueled future that they have. They do not allow themselves to stagnate and just say, this is what we do because it's what we've always done. Churches that are growing in attendance and impact are churches that have become intentional by design. They pray, they focus on the Lord, and they do the diligent steps they know they need to make. So, to get started, I want you to start here. Go to preachandlead.com/steps and get your free guide. The 3 steps intentional pastors use to lead their church to health. It will help you break free from that Sunday to Sunday cycle and lead with clarity. And on the page after you put in your information, there's a space in there where you can jump on a free coaching call with me, and we can dig into your specifics of your church and work through what's holding you back and what do you need to move forward. And if it's a good fit, we can work together, and I would love to walk with you to help you see your church turn around and make the impact God wants it to make. So go to preachandlead.com/steps and make sure you jump in and get into this, go through the steps, set up the call. Let's work together and see your church thrive. Because at the end of the day, this could be your church. This could be your church. An invite culture, excellent hospitality, a 5-year strategic vision. You know where you're heading. You know how to get there. Obviously, you hold it up with open hands because, things change. You don't always think about all the stuff, but by prayer and petition with thanksgiving in your heart, you bring your requests to God and he guides you. You have a discipleship pathway to make disciples and leaders because that is the mission of the church. and as a result, healthy and growing in attendance and impact. This can be your church, but it requires a confrontation with reality to identify where you are, and then by prayer, gaining clarity on what it looks like to move forward, and then moving forward. Now, before you go, let me know in the comments, where is your church on this chart? Which one, birth, infancy, childhood, retirement, old age, where are you? Where do you see your church in this, and what do you believe needs to change? Let me know in the comments below. Would love to hear from you. And just a reminder, preachandlead.com/steps. Be sure to go there, get your free guide, break that Sunday to Sunday cycle, and lead with intentionality into the future. All right? I'll see you in the next one. Peace.